Alright, welcome back. Sounds like the bees are coming to life finally. Alright, today we're going to work on this wicking bed we got going on here. In this 100-gallon Rubbermaid water trough. I've got two of these, but we're going to work on this one today. I like using these water troughs. You can pretty much use any container to build a wicking bed, as long as you build it the same way as I'm going to show you here. But I like these watering troughs because they have steps, so it kind of gives you, you know, when we get into it and you see the layers that are going to have to go in here, you know, it gives you like a line to go off of on your different layers. So things you're going to have are some weed mat, and you're definitely going to need some bulkhead fittings. These things, they sell them at Tractor Supply, or you can order them offline pretty cheap. Doesn't really matter what size you get. You know, you're just going to have to find a plug to fit in a couple of them that fits whatever size fits in your container. Alright, once you selected your container, if it doesn't already have a port in the bottom of it, at this time you're going to get a hole saw, drill a hole in the bottom of your container, and then install a bulkhead fitting. Like you can see, this tank over here doesn't have one, but there's already a hole that this bulkhead fitting will go right into. Okay, now you're going to have to drill two holes. The next one's going to be up in the second layer. We'll do that when we get to it. Alright, the way I like doing it is I like to put some void spaces in the bottom. I find some containers, old planting pots, things like that. I have an actual old aluminum pot here, and I also like using the shop vac things because we're scrappers and we might as well use stuff that we find all the time. It's already got a hole here for the bottom to drain, and you have to hole saw a hole into it. Well, this is the way I do it, with a standpipe. Okay, so I'll build a standpipe which goes inside of this. And a standpipe's nice because you can look in there and see where your water level is, and it's also an easy way to just put the garden hose in there and add water. Now, your bottom bulkhead fitting, you don't want it to get clogged up with gravel and other things, so you need to come up with a way to not impede the water getting out of it, but keep the gravel and whatever other media you have at the bottom from getting in there and clogging it up. So basically, I just took this aluminum pot, cut it. I'll drill a couple more holes in the top here, put a piece of weed mat on top of it, and that just sits in there. The gravel will go around it, and it'll keep it from the gravel from coming out of the hole. So this thing's just like a drawer out of a refrigerator or something. You know, anything you can find for a void space. Another thing that works good is like black corrugated drain pipe. Sometimes you can snake it in there. You can take pieces of PVC and just lay them down in there. Really anything. Anything that's not going to get crushed too bad by the weight of the dirt and sand above it. You can see this bed I built quite a few years ago, probably 3 or 4 years. It has corrugated drain pipe sticking up here, and this just snakes around the whole perimeter, coils down in there. Plus there's some other old pots and things like that. I just keep it covered with that, so if I want to put water in there, that's where the water goes in. And this used to be a spa, so it has jets about halfway down, which are now my overflow pipes. So alright, now we're going to cut a couple pieces of weed mat just to lay on top of these few pieces here. just so the gravel doesn't go in there and block the holes off. All right, after you have your void spaces put in there and your standpipe installed and your bulkhead fitting is installed in the bottom of your container, the first layer you do is gravel. Yeah, it can be pea gravel, you know, any kind of media. I'm sure you could use lava rock, things like that. Pretty much whatever you have around, that's a good, you know, drainage. I also have some tempered glass and some plate glass because I'm a scrapper and I need to get rid of it. So it's going to go in my wicking bed. Reduce, reuse, recycle, right? Alright, the first layer, you know, you just bed it in, get it bedded in there. That way it holds your containers in place. And what we're going to do is we're going to fill to pretty much this line, this first line here in the container with just gravel and, in our case, a little bit of glass. Alright, now that you have the gravel layer in there, which is your main drainage and storage of water area, we're going to cut a piece of weed mat, probably double it over 2 layers, and get it down in here, right on top of this gravel layer. All right, the next layer is going to be sand. Okay, so now you're going to put about 6 to 8 inches of sand in here. We'll probably come up to a little bit above this line. That way it gives us a good 8 inches of topsoil to plant in. So we'll get a couple more bucket loads of sand in here. And we also need to put in the bulkhead fitting, which I think I'm going to do right up here, right above this line. We're going to go a little high with it. Anywhere in this area, like here or here. Maybe we'll go here. We'll see. All right, before we go any farther, we're going to install this bulkhead fitting for the drain. Your second bulkhead fitting, you want it installed in the sand layer. That way the water level never gets above the sand layer. You don't want the actual topsoil to be sitting in water. That's why these are called wicking beds. The sand stays wet, the gravel stays wet, and the soil wicks the moisture up from the bottom. You're basically mimicking nature, is what you're trying to do here. All right, so we're going to put our drain as high up on this crown as we can get it. Just go for it. All right. And we're going to install our bulkhead fitting. These are reverse thread, usually. They'll have a rubber washer. I would put that one on the inside. It's not too crucial that this seals. The bottom's pretty crucial that it seals, but this top one, I mean, it's not really that. It's not under any type of pressure, so. Get that on there. And reverse thread. Usually you can get it pretty tight by hand. That should be good. Okay, now we don't want our overflow to get clogged with sand. So what I've been doing is I've been taking an old pot like this. Right, and what I do is I wrap it in weed mat, stuff some of it inside, and then what we'll do is we'll sit it on here and surround that by sand, and then it, you know, it keeps it filtered and keeps the sand from coming out your overflow while still being able to drain water off. So let's dig this out a little bit here. Get that a little lower. There we go, something like that. Let's cut a piece of weed mat for it real quick. All right, keep adding sand. I like to dish it down in the middle, kind of build up the edges with the sand, you know, push a lot of it to the outside. Kind of bowl it. I feel like it helps the sand, the soil wick up on the edges a little bit better if the edges are higher. I don't know if it really helps, but that's what I do. All right, same situation. Another layer of weed mat, and then we would put our topsoil on top of that. All right, now's the time you want to make sure the standpipe is straight. I usually take like a brick or something just to cover it so I don't get no dirt in there. All right, and then I have some spent compost and topsoil from the top of some of my other wicking beds. I usually skim them off every year and put another, like at least one bag on each bed of some nice compost. This stuff still looks really good though. But I've got some new bags, but keeps me from having to go out in the woods and get it. See how nice and fluffy this stuff is. It's really nice soil. All right, well, that's basically it. I'll probably put about maybe 2 more full buckets, skim off the top of those other beds, and then I'll put a fresh bag on top and we'll plant right into that. All right, that's it. Hope this inspires everybody to get out there and build their own. Like I said, it's completely scalable. You can do whatever size you want. Doesn't matter. It's a great way to save water, reduces how much you have to water it. And if you put some mulch on top after you're done, it helps with the evaporation. It helps hold the water in there. It's really a great system. Probably the best thing I've found as far as low input, because these things pretty much level themselves, you know, through the overflow. If it rains, it doesn't get too full. It make sure it comes out the overflow. That's really all you got to do. So if you like this project, give it a thumbs up. Tell your friends. Share it on your social media. Everybody get out there and build wicking beds. All right? We're all going to have to be growing food this year, it looks like. Maybe. Hopefully not. I'd like to go sit down at a restaurant sometime soon.